Hey, welcome back. How are you? That's good. I've been well. Nice to see you again. So today we're actually going to critique some of your pours that you posted on the subreddit from the last video. So if you were good and you watched my last video, well then you know that we're actually doing a giveaway right now. We are giving away free latte art lessons one-on-one with me, and we're giving away 11 of these pitchers. This is the matte black WPM slow pour supply round spout 22 ounce pitcher. I love these things. These are what I use for every pour for the most part. So if you want to enter into that and you want to throw your name into the hat, then you can go over to that other video and go into the description. There is a subreddit link. If you follow that link and you post a video of you pouring some latte art, then you're in and you're good to go. And if you are selected, which will happen randomly and will be announced in the upcoming Rosetta video, well then you get to have a one-on-one lesson with me. That video will eventually be put on the channel so that people can learn from it as well. And you will also get one of these pitchers sent to you by me. Huge shout out for Slow Pour Supply for sending these. So let's just jump right in here. All right. Hey, it's Santa. Santa's gonna pour me latte art. I love this. Okay. Okay. Oh no, Santa spilled. Oh, that's okay. We're not gonna take off for spilling. We never do. I love you guys too much. Wow, okay. Let's go back. We're gonna go back a little bit. First of all, I am so honored that Kris Kringle himself is pouring me drinks. Okay, so right here, before we even start, the milk did sit a little longer. The milk doesn't look very thick to me. It actually looks a little bit on the thinner side, so that's okay. But in the future, you want to keep your milk moving until you're actually pouring. Just that hesitation of getting into frame will have that milk stiffen up on you just a little bit. Not a big deal, but if we're critiquing for the sake of critiquing, I'm gonna come at you, Santa. So it's not bad. The base in the end ends up breaking against the back wall. However, you are able to get some really beautiful ripples in there, and the wings come up all the way, which is really, really nice. So what I think is happening here is that you're starting a bit too heavy with your flow, and you're emphasizing that by maintaining that weight. And what happens is it crumbles against the back wall because hello coffee, there's so much force pushing it towards that back wall, and you also started pretty early. So if you combine that, if you start early, your design is more likely to crumble against the back wall, but it'll also be more full, and you're using a heavier flow. Well, those two things together can make it hit the back wall, but also come up to your pitcher where you want it to be. If you see, if we go back just a little bit, when you start your pour, you start it by drifting the line, but you're doing it high up in the cup. So I know that it's ending up right here, but you're starting about right here. Let's just scroll back just a little bit. See, so you're starting right here, and because you have to get it all the way to the back of the cup, what's happening is that you're using a lot of force to do it. You could probably start a little bit further in the cup before you start the stream and be a bit gentler with the stream. There's a moment where right there, right here, do you see the lines? They don't wiggle as much as the ones that are about to follow and the ones that were before. So this is actually really common. You'll start rippling your base, and then something will make you stiffen up, and then you'll start rippling again. The easiest way to practice this is to just get some water in a pitcher and get another pitcher, and then practice making these waves the same width and consistent. And the more you practice this, the better it'll be in your muscle memory when you go to pour. So if you don't ripple fully and you only ripple the first half and then the last half, well, there will be a section in your pours where the wings won't fully wrap around. I call these salmon lines because they kind of look like smoked salmon. But if you ripple wide, then those lines will fully wrap in on themselves, and you'll get these beautiful, beautiful wings in your base. So just practice rippling wider and rippling more consistently with some water in a pitcher. Let's keep watching. Awesome. So this second layer, and this is important. If you want to put a second layer in there and you want it to wrap, well then you want to be a little bit closer to your base. And it looks like in this situation, your pitcher may have been just a tiny bit higher than the surface of the coffee, so that layer didn't come in as crisp and as white as it could have. That being said, this is a really beautiful pour as is. If you want to correct that, all you have to do is get a little bit closer to the surface and try to put that layer a little deeper into the pour. That way your layers can wrap in on themselves or even just climb up in the cup. Practice that and let me know what you think. Nice. Now here's where you spilled. That is totally fine. I don't take off points for spilling. But if we go back, you'll see that your pitcher is angled to the side so that when you cut through, you're cutting through at a more of a diagonal to your pour. And what we always want to do is we always want to cut straight through. So whenever you're doing these pours, you never want to come in at a side angle where your wrist is facing a certain direction. You always want to try to stay centered and going towards that center. A good way to practice this, let me just finish my coffee, is to draw with an expo marker a line at the bottom of the cup and a line at the top of the cup. That way, whenever you're adding layers, you can always aim for that top line. And whenever you're doing your cut through, you can aim for that back wall to the back line. And that usually helps. If I have to rate it, a 10. A 10 out of 10. I think that's fair. Santa, I love you, Santa. Thank you. Thank you for all the coal last year. Appreciate it. So many beautiful pours. You guys are so good. Okay. Hope we lost focus. That's really nice. That's really beautiful. This is really pretty. You should definitely be proud of yourself. I honestly, when you get this good, it's a lot harder to be nitpicky, but those nitpicks, I think, they come down to aesthetical things. So for example, I could tell you things that I think would improve this pour, but that comes down to aesthetics because you've essentially got a completed design here that's very, very pretty. If we were to change anything, we would just change maybe the style we want to go with. So for example, let's start it from the beginning. I would usually start a little further back in the cup with my pitcher. Because you're using a smaller pitcher, it makes sense that you have to be higher up in the cup. That being said, if you started maybe just like a little bit more here before you did that launch, I think that it would drift further to the back, which would give you more space. And the more space you have when a pour is happening, when the line of milk is drifting away from your pitcher, the more space means whenever you ripple, you are wrapping in more color each time. So if you have a lot of momentum going forward in your base, then you will get more color in your base. Now, as far as the second layer goes, the placement is really great. So right here, so the second layer, you did it right at the top of the base. Now, whenever you want a layer to wrap around another pour, you always want to be at the top of the layer that you want to have it wrap. So if I finished my base and my base kind of looks like a heart without the tail, well then I want to put the next pour right here at the top because then it will wrap around a lot easier. Now this also involves a little bit of flow rate, which is what's going on here. So if you flow just a little bit heavier or you ripple side to side just a little bit wider, that base is more likely to wrap around that middle layer, which I think is beautiful, but is also an aesthetical thing. If you don't want the base to wrap, then you could start higher up in the cup and then ripple in, and the base will rise, but it won't always wrap. So those are personal choices. It's up to you. It's up to the maker what they want to do. Now, I'll also note while we're here and moving into the next layer, you'll see that you stop your pour and you kind of do this motion that looks like you're cutting up, but you didn't do it as much as I'd like you to do it. If you kind of dig your pitcher's lip, the spout right here, into each design and then you cut up, well then you're gonna make a crescent shape, which is gonna create a little bit of negative space in between the next layer you're gonna add to make those top hearts. If you don't have that negative space, then the top hearts can kind of have misshapen indents at the bottom. So the bottom will be really, really thick, but the sides will be really thin. So you always wanna cut up in that C shape and then get enough space for the next pour. It also looks like your cup is pretty much full here, so maybe we could have started the pour a little bit sooner, giving us more space so that we can add stuff later. That's always a suggestion. But honestly, this is so pretty. I could watch this all day. It really is gorgeous. Some homework would be maybe start the pour just a tiny bit sooner, be a little bit deeper in the cup, whip in that second layer, and try to cut in and up on all of those stacked layers at the end. That way you can get a nice brown crema spacing in between each of the hearts. If I had to rate this, I'd give it a 10. I gotta give it a 10. It's really good. Head rush 75, let's go. Get you on full screen. Okay. Not bad. All right. Head rush 75. Let's talk about it. Great job here, Head rush 75. Off the first impressions, it looks kind of like maybe your milk is a little thin. And if your milk is thin, then you're not going to be able to have any kind of base that has foam in it to land on top of with your milk foam. It just isn't going to work. What happens is if we don't have enough foam in our milk, then whenever we pour, we're just pouring into liquid, right? We're just pouring into water. And so our pour is going to do things that resemble water. Next time you steam, maybe add just a little bit more air, a couple more kisses, little of air injections, and maybe you'll be good. Maybe not. If not, come to me. We'll have a conversation. But critiquing the rest of this, it's really pretty. I mean, this is a really great heart. If I came to your house and I was a guest and you poured this for me, I would be very proud. Make sure that your cup is completely full before the very end of the pour. That way you're not holding it at the end for the tail of the heart just to fill it up. You want to have just enough milk so that at the very end, whenever you cut, your cup is already full and the cut through goes straight through. It doesn't hang out at the end, sinking anything that you don't want to sink. All right, Head rush 75. What's your rating? What's your rating? I'm gonna give you a 75. Minus 65. Yeah, so that puts you at 10. Moving on. Kade Gibbs. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody shut up for just a second. That was spicy. That's really pretty. I wanna go back a second. Do you see that? He glides, goes side to side, and then here's the part I love. He gives it like a push in and then pulls back. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's so cool. Wow. I have no notes. This is really pretty. And here's the thing is that when we get to this stage, when you're doing cool tricks like that, I honestly think that this is all up to aesthetics. So if this is what you want, then this is what you should do. Maybe if you wanted to make it a little different and you wanted to give it some variance, maybe try rippling that top heart or stacking that top heart or spacing out those curves a little bit more so you get more color in between them. This one's too good. So I'm gonna give it a 0 plus 10 for effort. All right, Pondering Tinkerer, I would say, let's go back and watch that one more time. I would say this is really nice. Does look like your milk might be a little thin. If you thicken up your milk a little bit, I think that you'll find that it's easier to pour into your base. And at the end here, it looks like you push that last heart into the design, whereas you could go a little bit higher in the cup and avoid it wrapping into the center. You also have so much space in the cup that if you made that top heart with a little less flow, it would be tinier and you could end up stacking multiple hearts in there if you wanted to. I know that's a little advanced, but as far as I see that there's a lot of room for you to add more to the design if you want to. Another small note is that whenever you're doing the cut through at the very, very end, right here, you are lifting up and then over. What you want to do is lift on a diagonal, cutting through and up at the same time. That way it sinks the design, but doesn't sink the top heart, which you didn't do here, but still. But this is really great. 10 out of 10. One more. Daily Home Barista. How'd you get that name? That's so good. Oh, my flow. All right, Daily Home Barista. This is gorgeous. This is gorgeous. I love a chunky, heavy flow. That is something I love to see in latte art. You don't see it enough. And wow, this is really inspiring. This is amazing. Daily Home Barista, you're an amazing person. I don't know what the situation is, but the fact that you continue to pour through anything, that's just so cool. Honestly, you're an inspiration to me. This is really sick. So what I want to see from this is I'd love to see the beginning of that base be a little bit more crisp and have more pop, which means we need to get closer to the surface. And I think that we could actually fill in the base a little bit more or add more layers later if you wanted to. So we might want a little bit more room in the cup. So for example, with integrating, let's go from here. You're integrating, you're integrating, you're integrating. So I would have started right about there. And now you'd want to tilt the pitcher and the cup towards each other just a little bit more. Get deep in there, start that base, but try to be as close as possible so that initial line is very crisp and white, and then continue doing the wiggles that you were doing. And if you start a little sooner, you might even be able to fit a few more wiggles into that base, which will make the base look more full. But then honestly, the rest of the pour is so pretty and your spacing is really clean. The way that you cut up with the pitcher is really clean. If you hold the top heart just a little longer before you do the cut through, it'll develop a little more evenly on every side. So that might be a little note, but this is really great. Thank you, Daily Home Barista. I give that one a 10 as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was fun. And it's not the last time we're gonna do it. We'll definitely critique more pours, so don't be shy and post them on that subreddit if you want them to be talked about or if you wanna win that contest. If you guys liked this, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment, do all the things. I greatly appreciate it and it really supports the channel. If you didn't like this, let me know in the comments, but don't you ever hit that dislike button.